Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Strathroy-Caradoc Police Service Board meeting for November 18th, 2025. Number one here doing our roll call. We have member Peter Rowe absent. All other members are present though. Number two, approval of the agenda as written. Do we have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Moved by member Grantham, seconded by member Hahn. All in favor? Perfect, carried. Number three, any declarations of pecuniary interest? Nope, seeing none. Moving right on number four, in-camera matters, board may move into closed session to discuss the following. One item in accordance with the municipality's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes, and then one item pursuant to section 44, sub 6.1 of the CSPA as amended regarding the education or training the member of the board or of the committee. Do you have a mover and a seconder to move into camera? Moved by member Brennan, seconded by member Grantham. All in favor? Perfect. We'll move into in camera. And there's Peter. Perfect.
Better late than never. Oh, you're here just in time.
Just in time. We just moved into our in-camera session, so. right, we are back in open session. Just reporting on the board, moved into closed session to discuss one item in accordance with the municipality's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes, and then one item pursuant to section 44 sub 6.1 of the CSPA regarding an education and training of the members of the board and committee. Moving on to number 6, we got the reading correction approval of minutes from our general meeting minutes of October 21st, 2020. Oh, sorry, and there was a,
in case, yeah.
yeah, that the direction, there was a recommendation of direction in closed session be approved. The stuff we talked about, sorry, can we get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by member Hahn, seconded by member Brennan, all in favor. Okay. And now reading correction approval of minutes for general meeting minutes, October 21st, 2025. Recommendation that the meeting minutes be approved as written. Do we have a mover and a seconder of that? Moved by member Rowe, seconded by member Grantham, all in favor. Number 7, review of monthly police service reports. I guess we'll let pass it over to the chief to talk about those before we vote to receive them. Chief?
Thank you again, Chair. So the monthly reports there are there for your perusal. There wasn't really much that I was going to highlight. I did notice and had a reach out from member Hahn just regarding an inquiry about the calculation of our civilian overtime. There was an amendment to that report that the clerk has provided to the members. That was a formula error where it didn't calculate the exact hours that were being shown on that report. So that is has been distributed for your awareness. I will sort of jump to the criminal investigation division report, and then I just wanted to highlight. It was bullet point number 3. There was an incident from October. The theft of a AR-style assault rifle. I want to certainly let this board know and those who are listening. It was actually an air rifle type weapon. It wasn't an actual firearm, and I believe that it has been, or we're still investigating. I guess that matters. So, but again, I just for awareness that we don't have an AR-style firearm out in our community. And then bullet point 4, certainly the horrific event from late June, the homicide investigation, as well as a very substantial arson investigation, is keeping our investigators busy with many follow-up and digital evidence type inquiries. And we expect, as this report highlights, that to be ongoing for a number of months yet. And then I also wanted to sort of highlight, because this is a fairly new report still, the intimate partner violence report, highlighting the number of incidents that we're investigating on a monthly basis with the year-to-date totals. One thing I'd like to sort of highlight is from 2022 to our current year, the number of times that charges are being laid is slightly declining, which we see as a positive. And again, you've heard me talk many times before about the delicacies and the challenges of IPV incidents, the mandatory charge obligation that we have and our members have in regards to meeting the threshold of reasonable grounds to believe an offense has occurred. You shall proceed with a charge. So this certainly highlights that some of the education, some of the training that we are getting both for our members and information sharing that we are making through various agencies that do have direct contacts with victims of crime from previous incidents are maybe lowering the challenges that are happening in IPV incidents. Other than that, I will sort of pause and certainly take any questions. I will highlight, one other thing, and I think this was mentioned at in the October meeting. We have had a change in some personnel. Constable Colin Rabiner is the primary MCERT worker, so the mental health crisis worker, and you'll see his name appear in the one report. And of course, Constable Lockwood has sort of evolved more into a true community services and media relations officer, and is doing an incredible job. It's not highlighted in this report, but I know that as of last week, she's assisting in a fairly substantive investigation that occurred up at the high school that really originated outside of our policing jurisdiction with an online post. But because of the nature of the incident and the young people at a local education facility, there's been a sort of a spillover event that we are investigating, and she is front and center in leading us through that. So maybe more to report on at our next board meeting in regards to that event. So I'll pause there and certainly take any questions from the members.
My one question, Chief, I think you kind of touched on it, just to confirm, we do have school resource officers now back in the high schools?
So through the chair, we are in the early stages of navigating that. So the school boards, both the public and the Catholic, have established some new sort of protocols, some new requirements, and we are sort of working with both boards to ensure that we meet compliance in regards to what they are seeking. You know, some of it has to do with just some defined protocols about when you will go in, types of notice before you go in, define the programming, what it looks like. There are certainly some components about communications, not only with school staff, but parents of young people in the schools. So it's about more of a transparent process. And so we're still sort of, don't want to use the word negotiating, but we are navigating so that we have a clear understanding and then are working in compliance with really what the school boards and school staff are looking for and expecting from our engagement with staff. That being said, we have had some involvement with schools where we've participated. I know the deputy has personally participated in specific classroom instruction, as well as we've had some engagement with our mental health workers and corresponding CMHA members who have gone in to identify additional services and programming that we provide without it being tied specifically to an incident or an event at the school.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. Do you have any other questions for the chief? Yeah, Member Hahn?
I had two. I was pleased to hear your background on Constable Brabender, also assisting with the MCRT. Would I be correct also that now with two people looking at that community services area, that there would be some overlap also maybe between media and MCRT? And maybe if you could outline Constable Brabender's background in like mental health, and his first time I'm seeing him on this listing.
Yes, so excellent question. So through the chair to Member Hunt. Your first question about building towards, I'll call it duplication or redundancy. We try to build that into a lot of our areas so that if, for example, we had the two officers, Constable Lockwood and Constable Brabender, who are embedded in a support service role specific to mental health and community service, if one or the other wasn't, say, available, it's nice to be able to cross over, cross-pollinate, I'll call it, to be able to do those. Certainly, Constable Lockwood did the MCERT role previous, so she obviously has a lot of familiarity with what happens on the MCERT side. Constable Brabender will take some time, but we can start to evolve to provide him some additional training, whether it's in media or certainly community services. In his previous employment prior to coming to Strathroy-Caradoc, he did act as a community services, community relations member with that his previous employer, policing employer, so he has a bit of a background there. And certainly from a mental health perspective, all of our uniform members receive entry-level, mid-level training on mental health response as a requirement under the CSPA. And so he has some of that training, but we'll further advance some of his training specific to mental health response. And as you saw in the report, he's actually taken over as the co-chair of the situation table.
I saw that.
So again, that's another area of further development that we'll invest in to ensure that he has the necessary skills and abilities to do that job.
My second question was in regards to the budget and to end of pay period 20. And I know we have the expanded fire dispatch services now with the Middlesex County. And we, effective, I guess it was 2024 in September, we hired the additional civilian workers to assist with that. And I'm noticing that the budget year to date, are they only paying annually for that service, or is there not like quarterly? Like I feel that there's a 237% of the budget has only been paid to the end of this time frame. That timing of that payment doesn't coincide with the extra efforts we did to hire the people.
So if, and again, through the chair to Member Hunt, if I understand there has been a underpayment by the county towards the fire dispatch 911 service. I made that inquiry with the finance department, and they hadn't billed for the second part of the contract. So if there's two contracts, there's the fire dispatch and then there's the 911 answering. The one portion hadn't been invoiced, so that now has been invoiced. So you should see, hopefully soon, the recoveries of those missed revenue lines. The adding of the full-time or moving from less part-time to more full-time certainly has helped us provide adequate and effective staffing, as we saw an increase certainly in 911 calls because we were receiving them throughout the county, save and except the City of London. And so our scheduling and staffing model changed, which again drove sort of us moving from part-time members to more full-time members.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else? Questions for the chief? Okay, seeing none, we'll receive all those reports for info. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Member Brennan, second by Member Grantham, all in favor? Perfect. Number 8, we had our item for the 2026 proposed budget. Following up on our discussions before, I'm wondering if someone wants to make a motion to defer that item to next meeting. Motion by Member Rowe, seconded by Member Grantham. All in favor to defer that? Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, 8.2, we got Staff Sergeant Cartwright is here to give us a verbal report on the pre-charge consultation program. So I will pass it off to the chief to intro Staff Sergeant Cartwright.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So just a bit of a intro into what this program is and maybe what it is not. So this is a pre-charge consultation program. It was first introduced into the Guelph Police Service by the West Region Crown, Belinda Paglioni. I think I'm pronouncing her last name right. Very well respected Crown that from the Windsor area who has carriage of the prosecutor's offices in West Region in Western Ontario, Southwestern Ontario. This program is meant to embed a Crown attorney, a Crown worker in a police service to provide consultation to police services prior to laying of an information. As I say, the model originated in Guelph, and then I saw the presentation at a OACP meeting and brought it back to our command staff, as well as the St. Thomas Police Service, whose chief is also on the OACP board member. And after discussions with our internal team, a reach out to our partners in St. Thomas, we both agreed that we should explore bringing this program to our own police services for a lot of different reasons that the staff sergeant will highlight. So that's kind of what the program is at a very, very high level. And again, I know Jason's going to sort of articulate it a lot better than I have here. But I wanted you to know what it was and sort of how we landed here. So now that it has started, we are, along with St. Thomas, the second services in the province behind Guelph to engage and implement this program. And again, I know Jason will highlight some of the areas of benefit that we are expecting to see in our organization. So with that, Staff Sergeant Cartwright, his first appearance in front of the board as a Staff Sergeant, I turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. High-level perspective, I did make some notes. It's a very interesting process, and I don't have a lot to say, but please ask questions. We talk about it a lot at the station, and it's an interesting process because none of us have ever done this, but we've all thought would probably be the smartest way to do things. So essentially what it is, it's a cooperative initiative between the Ministry of the Attorney General and the police services. As the chief said, Guelph was the first on board. We were the second, basically tied for second with St. Thomas. We do it collaboratively with St. Thomas. But since then, Ottawa, London, numerous larger services have jumped on board because it looks like it's going to work. So what it is essentially is the pre-charge consultation. We have a Crown that works in our station, splits some time between our station and St. Thomas, and they review our cases and they make recommendations whether we should be laying charges based on a screening standard. The Crown Attorney's screening standard is a reasonable prospect of a conviction combined with public interest. Is it in the public interest to prosecute? Is it likely that we have a reasonable expectation to obtain a conviction? So that's the test that the Crown will put to our cases. What it is not, the PCC Crown does not make direction to the police. They give recommendations. The police, not the Crown, have the sole responsibility to determine whether to lay charges. So our officers have the discretion to lay the charge. If they feel like they have the grounds, they want to lay the information, they can do so. What this does for us is it's, in theory, it will create better investigations and prosecutions, equaling more guilty findings. Cases that proceed to court are strengthened, leading to a higher percentage of guilty findings that hold offenders accountable and keep victims safe as offenders are serving their sentences. We hope for better outcomes for our victims. Faster and improved conclusions for victims translates into less trauma. And fewer Jordan stays. I'll explain Jordan in a second. Faster justice outcomes. Trial courts have the capacity to hear our cases faster without delay, increasing public safety and public confidence in the system. Jordan is a case, I don't know the year, doesn't really matter, is a Canadian case. I think it was a drug case in the West where delays led the case into extreme delays to the point where the charges were dismissed as a result of delay. So that case law, they call it Jordan. The accused's name was Jordan. So as a result of Jordan, the new case law is that when the police make an arrest and they lay an information or lay a charge, that prosecution must be before the court and into trial phase within 18 months. That's the ceiling. That's in the Ontario Court of Justice. It's a little longer in the Superior Court, 30 months. So essentially, we need to get our paperwork, to court quickly. That's essentially what it comes down to. And what we used to do in the old system was we would go to the Walmart on Carroll Street and arrest a person for shoplifting, and we would lay the information before the court, so essentially the charge is laid, and then we would carry on and we would try to gather some evidence, and we would get statements, and the officers may go off on furlough, and they may come back, and all of a sudden it's 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and we haven't really got the ball rolling on the investigation. So the point of this whole process is that we were going to gather up all of our information. We're going to arrest the person. We're going to release them probably back into the community. And then we're going to go ahead and gather up all of our evidence, get all of our video and our statements, and we're going to present it to our Crown, and our Crown's going to review that and say, yeah, I like it. It's something that I think we should proceed with in court. Or no, you know what, it's not in the public interest and there's no reasonable expectation of a conviction, so we're going to dismiss this and carry on. So what it does is allows cases to be more efficient. It gets our cases into court more complete before the Jordan clock starts. So that's sort of the philosophy of it. What else? Essentially, that's sort of the whole process. Of an interesting note, last year in the London Crown's office, the London Crown's office withdrew 50% of all charges brought into that courthouse. So that's an incredibly high amount. And this process is not to clear a backlog in the courts. It's intended to create efficiencies in our prosecutions. It's going to teach our police officers how to be better investigators. It's going to, our victims are going to have better communication with our Crown attorneys. It creates a better relationship between our officers and our court and our Crown. In theory, it should be an excellent process. It's in its infancy. To date, we have put through 15 cases so far. It works really well. We have a really interesting platform that we use, like an application that we transfer information to and from the Crown. It's been an interesting learning experience. It's been quite positive.
Just again, just to top up a couple of points. So Jay highlighted, one of the priorities we initially identified was we have a very young service. Again, our hiring practices over the last 4 or 5 years, we are very young as far as policing experience, specifically in our frontline, our uniform division. We have members who are 3-4 years on the job who, because of people, time off and stuff, are acting as supervisors with 3 to 4 years experience. That is very rare. It's very common now, but it's very rare in policing still. And so we saw this initiative as a great opportunity to help build in, supports for not only young supervisors, but young frontline officers, to give them a greater skill set to build stronger cases as we proceed through the court pieces. Very similar to when we introduced the MCERT program, and our uniformed members got to work hand in hand, side by side, with a mental health professional. We started to see them echoing and parroting a lot of the language that mental health people use. We're hoping and we're expecting to see the same transformation. They'll start to echo and parrot what the Crown is telling them. So we see that this will be very beneficial in their progress, their mentoring of become better and better investigators. There's another piece to the prosecution puzzle, which is diversion, both adult and youth diversion. That's a strategy that the courts use, the justice partners use, and that's to direct accused parties to non-prosecution resolutions. So, as an example, maybe it's an IPV incident, and they divert the member through to a John Howard Society program where they, evacuate or lose the criminal case, but the person still gets some sort of accountability and counseling to hopefully remove them from the justice system in the future. And so this program, like a glove, is one of the fingers of that glove, that justice sector glove, allowing us to sort of find, as I say, some in-house efficiencies and moving us forward, but it also helps in the overall picture of the justice sector, the justice modernization piece that is undergoing quite a transformation, certainly in the province of Ontario.
Perfect, thank you, that's good info. Question I had, I'm not sure if you answered it before during your talk. The Crown, is it provided by the province or funded through the province, or is it something that we have to pay for?
The Crown Attorney that we have is a local Crown Attorney practiced in London and Elgin County, and is provided by the ministry. Yeah, so the ministry has taken the stance that this process should be efficient, should create enough efficiencies that they can free up some Crown Attorneys to work full time with the police. So that's the plan. Yeah, they're provided by the ministry.
Perfect. That sounds like a great
In addition to that, and I know Jay talked about the in-house software application where we share information with the embedded Crown. That software application was again funded and supplied by the province. So there's a lot of sort of financial pluses to this program as well. And again, obviously the Ministry of the Attorney General sees a lot of benefits to it if it helps relieve some of the pressures in their prosecution offices.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Do you have any more questions for you? Member Hunt, go ahead.
I had that same question too, wondering who funded it. Now, the only real impact, I guess, on our police services is we just need to provide an office for that person. And are you saying that it's Strathroy? This person is located only in Strathroy, or do they also go to St. Thomas?
Correct. They go to St. Thomas as well. So depending on the workload, the plan is to arrive and work physically in the building where perhaps the workload is heavier that date or that week. We've seen Stephanie's actually at our office right now, and yes, she's sitting in one of our interview rooms working. So she needs a desk, and the ministry provided, provided her with all of her hardware to work on. But we see her weekly, 2 to 3 times a week.
I'm really pleased that we've taken on, and compliments to the chief for engaging in this pre-charge program. What I really see, and you mentioned it actually, Sergeant, was the less impact to the victims and the quicker and the efficiencies in bringing this forward. We always read about the impact to victims being, having to go through this process over and over again over an 18-month period, or if it's, like you say, it's within 18 months, but that's a long time if you're a victim. So I'm really pleased about also the effect to our community.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wondered, Chief, you mentioned that the process would involve for not better use term, bail. He'd be released, the perpetrator would be released into the community. Is that the case? Or would there be a criteria there depending on the charges that were pending as to whether that individual would be released or not?
Yeah, so it's an incremental process that we've entered into as far as types of cases. I don't know, maybe let the staff sergeant just highlight the sort of the list of cases that we are currently working towards. There are certain ones, like for example, an intimate partner one, doesn't fall within the scope of the program currently. But as we evolve the program, we certainly see more opportunities for additional cases to come in, but I'll certainly let the staff sergeant comment.
Yeah, sure. So almost every case is eligible for the PCC. The only cases that are not eligible for PCC right now is intimate partner violence. The reason for that is that it's a mandate from the provincial government that if the police have reasonable grounds to believe an offense has been committed against an intimate partner, we must make an arrest and lay an information before the court. So we are not able to have the Crown make a determination on that. The other that we would not is a homicide, and then the other is drugs. So drugs is prosecuted by the federal prosecutor. When we lay a drug charge, it was actually a federal prosecutor will walk into the courthouse and look after that. So this provincial prosecutor that we have working with us does not have any jurisdiction over those charges.
Great, thanks. That's
a good question. Anybody else? That's perfect. Well, thank you, Staff Sergeant Cartwright, and congratulations on your recent promotion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we will move on to number 9 here. Announcements and inquiries by members. We'll start to my left with Member Grantham.
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, you try to raise your children properly. You try to raise your children properly and your grandsons properly, but my eldest grandson has decided to pursue a career in policing, so he's accepted at Lambton College, so we'll see what comes of that. Comes from a family of firefighters, so to have.
It's nice to see him come over to the good side. Okay, perfect. Member Hahn, anything for you?
None for me.
Perfect. Member Brennan?
I have two, and both are from the deputy mayor.
Go right ahead.
The first one arose in a council meeting, and it had to do with the deputy mayor questioning the level of detail that was provided in the minutes from the police board meeting. I think it had to do with the crime reports and stuff like that. And I guess he was concerned that he didn't know if this was the place at a council, municipal council meeting, for questions to be asked about police business. So he asked me to bring the question here, which I could ask maybe to our provincial advisor, Ron Leclerc. And I guess is what's the standard of the level of detail that's provided to municipal councils in their agenda from police service board meetings? And are we meeting it at Strathroy-Caradoc, or are we exceeding it? I guess he just wanted to be reassured that we weren't putting too much information into the agenda package. Is that right, Mr. Mayor? Is that your recollection of what the question was?
Yeah, I think he had a direct conversation with you, so.
Yeah. So and I didn't see that we were doing anything incorrect, but I just wanted to make sure from a provincial standard, Ron, if we are doing the right thing in our municipal agenda packages by putting the information we are putting in currently from the police service board meetings.
Yeah, so I would expect that you have a information sharing protocol policy. I'm not sure if you do. You're supposed to have such policy, and what's in that policy is what would be shared. I think one of the important things about the information that's being shared across is it doesn't disclose any personal information. Other than that, I think there's, and I don't know that you've done that, other than that, I think the minutes that you've provided that I've seen are sufficient.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, and I guess the clerk can note that, and we can provide that answer to the deputy mayor when we have another municipal council meeting. The second is also from the deputy mayor, and that is to do, I think, with the acknowledgement of staff that we do at our council meetings. We acknowledge 5, 10, 15, 20-year service for municipal staff, and I guess the deputy mayor was wondering if there's an appetite from the police service board or the force for us to do the same thing with these types of anniversaries for police service. I know we do it at the police service board, but I guess the question is, do we want to have those done at council? I know that they would be in our minutes from police service board, and those go to council, but I just didn't know if we wanted to go one further and have separate announcements made at municipal council meetings for these service anniversaries. And that was just a question for the board. And Ron has his hand up, so.
Yeah, I would suggest that this board is a separate entity of the municipality, and in my opinion, it'd be inappropriate to do those types of announcements at municipal council.
Thank you very much for that, and I can certainly pass that on to the deputy mayor. I think the mayor has a question.
No, I think Ron and I sometimes share the same brain, Ron, so would have had the same response as you.
Yeah, and I share that too, but the deputy mayor asked those things, so they've been asked and answered, and we can give those answers to the deputy mayor. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Chief?
If I may, just, and I appreciate the inquiry, both Member Brennan bringing it forward and certainly the deputy mayor bringing it forward to him. You know, the appreciation and the honor and the recognition of a member is very important. It's very important to the member themselves, family and friends, their staff or fellow staff, and certainly us as command certainly enjoy those opportunities to present both new members and members that are meeting certain milestones. And I was just going to sort of echo that. They are employees of the board, and I think that this is the appropriate spot for that recognition. That being said, I appreciate the fact that those outside of even the board understand and recognize the importance recognizing the great service of members serving their community.
Perfect, thank you, Chief. Member Rose? Yep, any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I've taken on the responsibility for this policy review, and actually I'm charged with putting a committee together, and I wanted to poll the members as to someone who would like to volunteer some time to assist with that piece of work. Do I have any takers?
Do we have any takers?
All right, well, I'm around in the daytime, so long as we fit it around my schedule, and I'll gladly help out.
Perfect, thank you.
My job is more full-time than others, so I've got time. I'll help you out, Peter.
Perfect, thank you, Member Grant, for stepping up, and then thank you to Member Rowe for taking on this large task of going over the policy and procedures. Yeah, I don't envy your position at all, but I'm sure you'll
My
do.
time is a little tight right now because I'm a caregiver for my wife who's just 5 days out of hospital for surgery, so.
Okay, well, all our best to your wife, hopefully
Yeah. It was routine surgery, so, but nevertheless, it's a lot of work.
Yep, absolutely, no, totally understandable. Okay, there's nothing on my behalf, I think everybody kind of touched on all the points that need to be touched on. We'll move on to number 10, schedule of meetings. Next one's Tuesday, December 16th, 10 a.m., and Tuesday, January 20th at 10 a.m., and Tuesday, February 17th at 10 a.m.
Sorry, Chair, if I may, just, we are planning on the December meeting to bring in and honor some of our recent new recruits who have graduated from the police college. I believe we have 3 that will be scheduled, so we'll try to pin that to the front end of the agenda.
Absolutely.
I know it's generally going to be, it sounds like it's going to be a busy agenda anyways, but we'll try to, as I say, press forward in those at the start.
Perfect. Look forward to it. Excellent. Okay, 11, adjournment. Do we have a mover and a seconder to adjourn for the day? Moved by Member Brennan, second by Member Rowe. All in favor? Sorry, thank you. Did that all with my microphone on?
It still picks it up.
You know, the kid could have been a millwright or electrician or firefighter, but you're gonna be a cop.